Good afternoon everybody and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Ollie and today we're going to be running through the new sales versus gaps reporting. If you've got any questions, join her after the session. Mike will be on the live chat today, so feel free to ask away during or after the session. Okay. So, as I mentioned, sales versus gap reporting then. So there's two new reports into the system available to you now in your current release, and also the development guys have been making some tweaks in the latest kind of beta testing that will be available to you in the next release as well. So as you can see on my screen here, if you're new to Prima and you're kind of looking for the reports area, where you would go is reporting on the left hand side here, and then into your report section there. Okay, so in terms of the top section here, you can search on various different options. So the reports being standard, Prima's put it into the system for you. Custom, you've made some changes and saved it, all being both of those options. And then the format option here, there's different variations of reports. So spreadsheet being like an Excel spreadsheet, analysis, drag and drop reporting, and report as a PDF. So what I suggest to do is just search for all standard, hit the search, and then also if you wanted to, you can sort by report name as well. So in your list, then it's alphabetical, and you can see a full list of all the reports available to you in Prima. Okay, so towards the bottom here for today's session, we've got sales versus gap reports. So on my current version of Prima, they are duplicated, but what you'll be able to see is just these two reports here. So sales versus gaps by account manager and by company, and then sales versus gaps by company and by classification. So two different styles of reports. Basically giving you the option to see like a year-on-year, month-on-month view, when they're spending, when they're not spending, by classification, by just month view, and giving you kind of a really good sales tool there to see, right, customer A's dropped in spending these months here, why is that, have they gone to a different supplier, etc, etc. So it gives you the information basically to then make a decision on a telesales routine, an email campaign, just to get in touch with the customer again and win that business back. Okay, so then if we start off in, let's say, the sales versus gaps by company and classification to start with. So if I open that up, okay, and if I maximize it here, okay, so in this report in the system, you'll see a Prima logo on your reports by default, but you can go into the report designer, chop and change it, put your logo on if you wanted to. It's more presentable that way, but of course you probably don't want to show this to your customers, it doesn't matter too much either way. So straight away what you can see here is who the company is, so my test company in the system, and a list of classifications sorted by where they're spending the most in. So you can see adhesive and tapes has been spent a lot, office machines, computer hardware, etc, etc. So towards the bottom you can then actually see where the gaps are in terms of the classifications, but also for the ones they are buying in, when the gaps are in the months as well. So this report is giving you kind of access to information of when they're spending. Typically in a year's time, am I going to expect another big order in February for the adhesive and tapes? Those kind of things you can see from the report as well. So in the top left you've got the criteria. So if you go into there, you can either search by every single company in your database, and these kind of search filters will be added to in upcoming releases. You can search on account manager, certain companies, certain classifications, etc. But at the moment it's either search for every single company or search for an individual client of yours in your system. You can also sort by the period end, so by default it will be today's date when you go into the report for the previous 12 months. So again, the date periods are going to be added to as well, so you can search on 3 months, 6 months, and at the moment it's just 12 months by default. Okay, so as an example, I've changed this over, I'm looking at someone new now. I'd save criteria, go into the report option, then from there then you can see straight away all your classifications, spend, month-on-month view, and then you can see then in the top there just the breakdown of is for the past year that we're looking at here as well. Okay, so flicking onto other pages, you can then see the other classifications in your database, where they've spent, and then also the totals, which because of our test database we've got some random ones in here, as you can see. Typically it goes over to 2 pages, so your total kind of orange bit here will be showing underneath, so you can then see, right, okay, the total overall is this, in month this one they've not spent at all, and so on. You can see then I guess your month on month performance for that customer as well, in all classifications, not just individuals as well. Okay, so that's sales versus gaps broken down by company and by classification. And if I just close out of there, you've then got the sales versus gaps by account manager and by company. So rather than breaking it down by the gaps in the classifications that you could be potentially selling, it breaks it down by just the company in general. So you can then see lapsed accounts, you can see improved and decreased kind of spenders as well. So typically when you open your database, you can click into there and it'll open, but just on my current version of Prima I just need to clear the cache, which the guys are currently working on. So you go into there, sales versus gaps by account manager, and by company. And then once that's loaded up, you can then see a month by month again view. If I just maximise that as well. By the account manager in the system. Here's the accounts, postcode, totals, etc. all in the report as well. So in this report, when you do go into the criteria, there are slightly more options at the moment in this one in terms of how you can filter on the report as well. So you can see at the moment this report is filtered just by my user and sorted by the spend. So it may be the case that I say actually I'm the MD of the company as an example and I want to look at everyone. So I untick that and I'm going to say right, okay, I'm going to sort it by the company name rather than the spend. Anything like that you want to. Sort the period end to be actually from 2018 versus 2017. Those kind of things you can filter on. Hit your save, back into your report. That'll take a few seconds to refresh and bring back all the account managers in your system, all of their accounts and spend by spend. So you can see here for Andrea's user in the system on our test database, you can then see, right, Molly Mops is a top account, whereas the webinar company haven't spent a penny in the past year. So you can see that sort of information as well. So it's a good report for, I guess, individual salespeople to use, account managers, whatever it may be in your business structure you've got set up, so they can actually monitor who's spending, who's not, who's performing, what months they're not. So as an example here, you can see Molly's Mops started ordering in March, but here they've stopped spending. So really you need to get back in touch with them. And that report just gives you the kind of the information for you to decide what to do with it. So flicking onto the next page, you'll see different users in your database that set up all the kind of accounts for them. And then towards the end, if I go to the last page, you can then see a spending customers kind of pattern as well. So you can see, right, in the month of July 18 on our test database, we had 14 spending customers. So again, from here, if you've only got 10 spending customers in June and then all of a sudden you've got 30 in July, and then in August it drops back down to 10 again, you could probably have a look at then, right, okay, so where are these other 20 that have dropped in spend that we could probably bring back to the table, maybe new accounts or something like that as well. Okay, so they're the two new sales versus gap reports. So you can access them from the reporting lookup, but in the next version of Prima that will be available to you in the near future, something you can do is actually access those reports from the company head of area as well. So when you go into the company lookup, search for your customer and open them up. In the top right of Prima here, you've got this customer review. So that opens up the actual customer review report with kind of spend, month on month view, order source analysis, etc, etc. But if you click the little arrow down at the bottom there, you can actually see these two new reports added into here as well. So rather than going into the reports lookup, filtering on the company, if you're already looking at them and potentially going to see them tomorrow or the day after, you can quickly access all these quick reports in here, see them broken down by classification. Probably wouldn't need to see it by account manager in this one because you're looking at one specific account. And you can also use a customer review, which has been in there as well for quite a while now as well. So those reports are accessible not just from the reports lookup, but also from company header as well. Okay, so if you've got any questions, feel free to ask away on the live chat. If you are watching this webinar back, then feel free to email training@primasoftware.co.uk and ask away. But yeah, pretty quick one today. That's everything. Any questions, let us know, and have a great weekend.